Good day, subscribers. Welcome back to the Contrarian. Now it's another week. I'll be making another video about gold and precious metals, but it's very exciting in my opinion, just the setup that both of these present right now. And I'll get into talking about the asset that could have the most explosive upside should gold and silver really break out from here. You probably might already know the answer to this, but just looking at gold and silver, it's really been a story of trying to keep the steam inside of an ever increasing pressure chamber, something that's just going to blow at some point. In pretty much every investor's mind, they've kind of, last 2 to 3 years known, at some point, inflation, massive monetary stimulus, the government spending way too much of a easy monetary policy going on for way too long during COVID. That's all going to have to come back to roost at some point. The chickens are going to have to come back to roost. Gold and silver are going to have their day in the sun, their time to shine. And myself, I would have thought that this would have come a lot sooner, probably even 2 years ago. I have been on the bandwagon saying that it's worth being in this space for the last 2 years, and I've been very early. However, at this point, both gold and silver, technically speaking, looking at their charts, are very close to breaking out to new all-time highs in dollar terms, especially gold. It's some 1 to 2% right now from its all-time high set in last year in 2020, and it's basically formed a triple top, and it's practically at the point of breaking that bull flag pattern at this point. And should it break past 2100, there's a lot of buying potential there. There's probably a lot of more speculative momentum traders that'll get on the bandwagon at that point, not because they really love gold and silver, but because there's just a lot of potential there. Same thing with silver. Once it actually breaks out of the $28 range, in my opinion, it could easily fly through $30. And from $30 an ounce, that is where you really saw the previous highs set in early 2021. And once it breaks that bull flag again, like gold, the sky's kind of the limit with silver. I mean, not entirely. You would face a lot of resistance around the previous all-time highs set back in 2011 or so. But that's around $50 an ounce, which is over 100% to the upside from here. So silver, in my opinion, really has much more upside potential in terms of percentage than gold from here. Now, talking about the assets which would experience the most explosive growth on the back of this underlying move in gold and silver, the commodities, are the producers. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that producers, miners of gold and silver, are very historically undervalued. You look at the valuations given to mining companies, royalty companies, exploration companies in gold and silver. They're all trading at or close to historic lows in terms of where the metal prices have been and where the valuations on these stocks have been. And so, it has been the story the last 2 to 3 years, really being in a gradually sinking boat if you've been in these stocks. It's been disappointing to say the least. But getting in now, if you could, would be a very opportune time. Not only because you're getting in at an extremely cheap valuation on these stocks, but once investors actually pivot to being net bullish on gold and silver, and that shift in sentiment might come a lot more quickly than most people realize, because this is a very emotional market. People get very emotional. They let their expectations fly away from reality in either direction, either saying gold is a useless commodity, a barbaric relic, it's never going to make a comeback, to, oh my goodness, the dollar is going to hyperinflate in the next 5 years. I need to put all of my net worth in gold. Kind of a, crazy emotional thinking either direction. In the last 2 to 3 years, we've had the emotional thinking go in the opposite direction, extreme pessimism in precious metals. Crypto is replacing precious metals. They're never going to make a comeback, kind of a story. to where all of a sudden you could pivot back to extreme bullishness. And it's really in that environment that the mining stocks, particularly the exploration stocks, have in the past and will again offer the most upside potential. I mean, you have stories in previous bull markets of even junk mining stocks that really have no underlying value. Some of the exploration stocks where the management is not that great, they don't really have any access to, valuable resources, or if they do, it's way overblown kind of thing. You have the example of stocks like that that actually get way bid up and kind of turn into big pump and dumps during that kind of a mania. So it very much so does turn into a mania. Obviously, I'm not saying to go buy, put your portfolio in all these speculative exploration stocks. There are some that, are actually run well, in my opinion, and do offer a lot of upside risk or upside potential with limited risk at this point.